It's no secret that Denver is a very appealing place to live and is growing quickly these days. Overall quality of life is a huge draw with a great climate and access to outdoor recreation.
Whether you're considering moving to Denver, recently moved here, or you're just coming for a visit, there are definitely some things that are good to know sooner rather than later. Speaking of things to know about Denver, make sure you hit the subscribe channel button to find all of our helpful and informative content about the Mile High City.
We're going to recap our top 8 residence pro tips for living in Denver. Things locals take for granted as common knowledge, but forget that sometimes we all found out the hard way.
If you enjoy having all 4 seasons, moving to Denver will be perfect for you. In fact, sometimes during transitional seasons, it can feel like we experience all 4 seasons in one day. The temperature can rise or fall by 40 degrees or sometimes more in a 24-hour period, which leads us to our resident pro tip number 1, which is always dress in layers. Once the sun goes down, you never know how cool it might get, so it's always smart to have an extra layer or 2 to throw on.
In the winter, you might think of Colorado and immediately imagine snow-capped mountains and ski resorts. While Colorado definitely offers that, you won't necessarily find this type of winter wonderland climate here in Denver. It does snow, but it rarely sticks on the ground for very long. For winter, our resident pro tip number 2 is have a variety of jackets and coats available to match the variable temps throughout the season. A longer, heavier coat, a mid-weight puffer type jacket, a windbreaker, and a raincoat are all necessities.
Speaking of clothing and attire, another necessity, the right shoes. In addition to a collection of jackets, you will also need a collection of shoes to adapt to the changing weather conditions. Pro tip number 3, in the winter, you will definitely want a good pair of waterproof snow boots or hiking boots. Whether you're shoveling snow or just going to the mailbox, you don't want your feet to get wet, which will then make them cold.
What about the weather's effect on transportation? A lot of people ask, do I need a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle to live in Denver? The answer is no, not really. If you plan to drive to the mountains in the winter, yes, a 4-wheel or all-wheel drive will definitely help. But with resident pro tip number 4, you can also keep your current vehicle and purchase a pair of snow tires to put on it as the weather turns cool.
The access to the Rocky Mountains is a huge benefit to living in Denver. From skiing to hiking to climbing, it's all right here. However, it's not always the most accessible, both driving and financially.
Particularly on the weekends, the main route to the mountains, I-70, tends to be very busy. In fact, most Saturdays during ski season, you need to be on the road no later than 5:30 a.m. to get to the lifts around 9 a.m. when they open.
Our only tip on this is to check out the resorts that are not accessed by I-70, like Eldora, Monarch, or Crested Butte. All are slightly more accessible traffic-wise, but also are further distance-wise. Unfortunately, we don't have a great pro tip on this one, so if you figure it out, please let us know, or use your private jet to fly to Aspen. Ha!
The best part about winter, especially for those coming from the Midwest, it's not gray all season. In fact, Denver boasts an estimated 300 days of sunshine per year, more than San Diego and Miami. The sun shines almost year-round, leading us to our pro tip number 5. Invest in a good quality pair of sunglasses. You'll wear them a lot, and with the proximity to the sun, UV protection for your eyes is very important.
Speaking of proximity to the sun, Denver is known as the Mile High City because it sits exactly 1 mile above sea level, creating a dry, desert-like climate. Because we are closer to the sun, it makes it easier to get sunburned. So resident pro tip 6, always wear sunscreen, even if you're just going out for a walk or a quick bike ride.
The high altitude also causes the air to be thin, which can take a while to adjust, especially if you're coming from a humid climate. Resident pro tip number 7, drink plenty of water on the way to Denver and stay hydrated once you arrive. Water helps the body better adjust to the change in altitude and the newly encountered dry air. Experts say you should drink twice as much water in high altitude areas than in other places.
Along with the dry climate comes dry skin. Residents pro tip number 8. Always keep abundant amounts of lotion and chapstick handy. This means in your car, in your purse, in your desk, at work, trust us, you can never really put on too much.
After acclimating to the change, dry air helps many people breathe easier. There's nothing really as nice as breathing the fresh mountain air.
We hope that you have enjoyed our rundown of our top 8 pro tips to living in Denver. We'd love to hear from you about what you would want to add to this list.
Be sure and comment below and let us know. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to receive all of our helpful and informative content.